What's good, folks? Family, friends, loved ones, enemies, frenemies, wizards, witches, muggles, mudbloods, people of Middle Earth to another episode of Disguised Coverage, the only podcast in existence that gives you an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin and is presented by the best pizza in Buffalo, New York, and that is One Pie Pizza. Find the online menu in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app and or platform you are listening to this show on. I am your host, Anthony. Find me on Twitter at pro__ant. That's pro 2_ANT in tonight's episode of Disguised Coverage. Not a great week for the Bills overseas, crossing the Atlantic in London. Bills lose in disappointing fashion to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But for the front half of this episode, we're going to be looking forward to the Bills primetime Sunday night game coming up in week 6 against the New York Giants. So that's what we're going to be diving into in the front half of this episode. And on the back half of this episode, we're going to go into some game tape and look at a specific matchup schematic piece that occurred during the Bills-Jags from the Bills offense perspective against the Jags defense perspective, because that specific schematic matchup piece will loom large and significant when it comes to Giants versus Bills, based on how the Giants like to operate defensively and how that could impact this game. Roy, you get me. Recognizing the tree looking good. Yep, absolutely. Still in its Halloween splendor, still rocking with the purple and the orange and the black and the Halloween theme. Got the little mini candy corn tree, got pumpkins. We're all falled out over here. It's beautiful. But the Bills lost after I did that last week, so maybe I should change it. We all know I'm very superstitious, but I'm not superstitious, but a little stitious. Such is life. But enough with that. Like I mentioned, in the front half of this episode, we're going to be diving into Bills versus Giants, the X's and O's, certain questions, schematic pieces, really in trying to get inside this matchup, as we do here on these weekly episodes of Disguised Coverage. And with that being said, without further ado, I bring to the stage my guest for this episode, Mr. Justin Penik of Talking Giants. Justin, I appreciate you taking the time to join me. And I know you're probably sadder than I am, given the status of the Giants in the state, but it's just cool that we could get together and be sad together and talk about this matchup and see what happens.
Anthony, thank you for having me on. And we were talking before the show. It's like, man, the Bills and those injuries are starting to pile up, maybe a little bit more than I thought. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, like, if I'm a Bills fan, I'm thinking, all right, well, let's talk Bills Giants. Let's talk about what the Giants are trying to accomplish schematically. What do they do well? What don't they do well? Meanwhile, I'm over here being like, how do I save my franchise? It's gotten that bad for at least the 2023 Giants and where we're at right now. But excited to be here. First off, I want to give you guys a shout out and cover one, because we've been friendly. This isn't like, Anthony just shot me a DM this week and this is like the first time that we're meeting. We have been relying on each other, especially my co-host Bobby has been really relying on Cover One, going back to when Shane and Daboll arrived on the scene, Bobby Johnson, guys like that arrive on the scene. We've been kind of relying on each other, mainly us relying on you, giving us the Buffalo intel that we need. And it's made our coverage of the Giants better. So thank you so much. So glad to be here. So glad we're finally meeting and talking. Yeah. Let's talk Giants Bills.
That's awesome. Appreciate the shout out. And yeah, I love you. I love Bobby. And I think that's actually how I think Bobby followed me on Twitter and DM'd me when Frazier and Daboll were both in consideration for the head coaching job. And he was like, hey man, could you just give me an overview on Dabes and Frazier? And I gave him a giant DM breakdown on Twitter, and he was awesome with it. He literally, he screenshotted it and posted it and was like, here's the insight. And I got a ton of Giants follows. And then I remember being like, oh, I hope are you thinking I'm a Giants account? You're going to be upset when you get to the season and I'm posting a ton of Bills stuff. But yeah, the working relationship is awesome. And just to, be able to build that piece. We saw you guys down there in Mobile. That was pretty sweet. So I'm pumped to have you here, even though, again, could be under better circumstances for both of us. Again, that's relative. I shouldn't, cry over spilled milk because, it could be worse. But before we really dive into it, we've alluded to it a bit. Overarching high-level thoughts from you, coming into the season, was there any thought that, some air might come out of the balloon? The Giants kind of somewhat shocked the world last year. Dabes wins Coach of the Year. They're putting an offense together that has really no semblance of a passing attack. They're running all these run concepts, and just Daboll is doing his schematic, scheming Daboll things. Wink and the defense are just making play after play. You go into Minnesota in the playoffs and beat a team that kind of was a paper tiger team throughout that year. And then you go into Philly, but it's cool. You make the Final Four in the NFC, you lose to the Eagles, who represented the NFC in the Super Bowl, whatever. Come into this year, just how have things played out versus expectations? Did you have any thought that it would start like this, or has it really just been, poor luck of the draw when it's come to injuries and a lot of things that have kind of fallen at the Giants' feet?
There was certainly an argument for regression. Giants won a lot of one-score games. They were not an offense that was explosive last year. And, one of the things that we even said about Daniel Jones is, hey, Daniel Jones needs to take a step up in like more hole shot throws and taking chances down the field and taking those opportunities when they present themselves down the field instead of just working the quick game stuff. So there was an argument for regression just as a team, but I never expected it to be this bad, because let's compare the Giants to a team like the Minnesota Vikings for a second. The Minnesota Vikings didn't improve as a football team this offseason. In fact, they might have gotten worse because, especially on defensively, they lost Dalvin Tomlinson. They lose one of their edge rushers. Both of them go to Cleveland. The Giants made upgrades this offseason, adding Darren Waller. Responsibly, might I say. I think it was a responsible way to add Darren Waller. They added Bobby Okereke. They added Paris Campbell. They drafted Jalen Hyatt. You feel like the draft went well. They drafted a guy like John Michael Schmitz to try and shore up the offensive line. Yeah. So you could say that, hey, the Giants could have been, we're in week 6, so we're 1-4 right now. We're probably going to be 1-5. You could have
do that. Don't jinx it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Hey, you could have told me the Giants are 1-4 at this point, and it's like, yeah, it's a tough schedule, really tough opponents, maybe some opponents that they should beat, but I would have never guessed that the production side of things, the efficiency side of things, offensively and defensively, would be this bad, because the Giants really are on a franchise rate right now of being bad on the offensive side of the ball. They're like reaching NFL record numbers of they're setting up a pace of getting sacked and getting pressured. It's really bad. And Daniel Jones and Andrew Thomas and Saquon Barkley getting hurt basically at the start of the year does play a part of it, but it is certainly not the full story for this team. I would have never expected it to be this bad from an efficiency and stat standpoint.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And especially too, it's so funny, like juxtaposing with how last season went, where the start was like, oh, look at like the surprise Giants, and people kept kind of waiting. Well, when they play real teams, this will happen and they'll fizzle out, and they just kind of petered and stayed. And again, we're one of the Final Four teams in the NFC. And then, yeah, you just juxtapose it with how this season went, and yeah, absolutely wild. But I wanted to get that temperature check from you overall. And now diving into like more of the meat of it, let's get a temperature check on former Bills offensive coordinator and now Giants head coach Brian Daboll. What's the temperature on Brian Daboll right now with this Giants team? And I ask because obviously it's important to the Giants, obviously, but we talked about, the working relationship between, you guys at Talking Giants and us here at Cover One. And a lot of that stems from, kind of a lot of the Bills, staff and some players to a degree migrating up north there. And Brian Daboll is always used, for better or for worse, as the barometer and the measuring stick for Ken Dorsey in this Bills offense. Anything that happens with the Bills offensively, whether it's successful or it's a failure, it's always somehow compared and juxtaposed with Brian Daboll, no matter what Ken Dorsey does. And he's one of the most polarizing figures and pieces of this Bills team. And a lot of it is due to the success that Brian Daboll had with this Bills team and what he did with Josh Allen. So, and then also pairing it with what he did last year in his first year with the Giants. Again, we've talked about how things have kind of gone off the rails a little bit to start the year. So what's that temperature like for Brian Daboll with this Giants squad right now?
It's not warm, and it's certainly not hot. I mean, this is the coach of the year. He made the playoffs last year. And still, like, even going into this year, I still feel like there's some good schematic things that the Giants are doing. And, and even Mike Kafka as offensive coordinator too. I feel like they work really well together. And I still feel like they work really well together. It's a combination of having one of the worst offensive lines that I've ever, arguably worse than the 2021 Giants offensive line that included guys like Nate Solder, practice squad guys like Matt Skora. These are guys that you've never heard of. Will Hernandez was really bad towards the end of his rookie tenure before going to the Arizona Cardinals, and maybe even like looking a little bit better, saving his career a little bit, I guess. But even worse than that 2021 offensive line where this is, Joe Judge running a QB sneak. That's the comparison that we're now going back to as Giants fans being like, is this team worse than that team? And that's a really sad place. But Brian Daboll, like, I don't think he's at the center of it versus like Joe Judge was at the center of it in 2021, just not being able to run a good offense. But I will say, very early on in the season, a lot of things can change. How will Brian Daboll handle losing? How will he handle losing? How will he handle a locker room that maybe is not happy that they're not winning games? How will Brian Daboll handle the media? Because he is very, very Belichickian when it comes to the media. Very cut and dry. I actually did think now that he's started to lose a little bit more, there are some times that he actually is giving a little bit of explanation of things, that he's not just being so cut and dry, which you can't start to be just a flat out dick to the media when you're losing, because you will easily get on their bad side if you do that. So
especially in New York.
Yeah, that's going to be the main thing for Daboll this year. It's like there's so much schematically that the Giants are limited with right now because their $40 million quarterback has not taken a step up, because they don't have one of the best left tackles in football, Andrew Thomas. Saquon Barkley may come back, but it's still a really bad offensive line. You're not going to have an offense that's going to be able to produce explosive plays like the Daboll offense wants to, like a Mike Kafka, former Kansas City Chiefs mind wants to. So it's really tough for him to operate. I'm a little bit more mad at Joe Schoen right now and his ability to build an offensive line. I'm also not happy with Bobby Johnson, who I know there's some mixed opinion. I don't even think there's mixed opinions. I think,
he was terrible.
Yeah. I like the fact that you have Josh Azudu from University of North Carolina, who was also on the Bills, like top 40 visit. And I think like was a Bills guy during that 2000.
I liked some of his tape. Yeah, I liked some of his tape. I mean, dude, there were so many. I mean, the Shane Bean connection, there were so many guys that like the Giants gravitated towards that you were like that Shane and co kind of like scouted before Shane went over there, or also like guys that even the Giants took this year that like John Michael Schmitz is the perfect example. Like that's a Bills type of draft player, like if there ever was one. But I mean, Bean and Shane share a similar mind because they're, how they work together in that. So yeah, it's another funny piece.
But with Bobby Johnson, Evan Neal has not developed. And Josh Azudu being a top 100 pick, having the athleticism, having the fast feet, that's another guy that has not developed too. And also Josh Azudu is currently our starting left tackle when he is, coming up as a guard. So that just lets you know the state of the Giants offensive line right now. They have guards playing tackles. They have guards playing center. It's their 7th overall pick of the 2022 draft, and Evan Neal is not very good right now. In fact, I would say he was bad. He is bad. So that's the state of the Giants offense right now. That's the kind of, I'm not very mad and upset at Brian Daboll. I still think he is an advantage. I still think that he is the coach for this team. But certainly how he handles losing and how he can control this locker room to kind of keep it in sync as more losses will maybe pile up for this team, that will be a big test as he goes on during the season.
What do you make of any of like the little, I think it was this past week with like when he slammed the tablet kind of next to Daniel Jones and people kind of like poking at his like frustrating pieces. Like there's people literally cutting up like and making threads on Twitter of like all of Brian Daboll's frustrations on the sideline. Like, are you reading into that or is it just like, it's whatever?
No, he's not happy. I mean, I would, this offense stinks. This offense stinks and he knows it. And if anything, this front office and this regime has talked about, it doesn't matter how much money you're getting paid. It doesn't matter where you were drafted. We're going to hold you accountable. Now, I don't necessarily know the Giants have much of a choice. It's like, I don't think they're going to like come out here and bench Daniel Jones for Tyrod Taylor. Right. But it's, you know what, if this offense sucks and if Daniel Jones is not performing up to a $40 million standard, then you know what? I kind of want my head coach to show a little fire. Even though Daniel Jones, you would never question his effort. You would never question that he's not trying. But if he's performing like crap, yeah, Dave's like, it's all right to get mad. And I don't know if he showed the same emotion as like an offensive coordinator. And I don't know if the cameras would ever capture that, but he is an emotional, fiery coach. Very fiery.
Yeah. And there were times where he'd get caught like, oh, my camera's being all fuzzy. There we go. There were times where he'd get caught like on the sidelines, like chewing Josh out a bit. And that's actually one of the pieces that people talk about when it comes to Dorsey and Allen, because there's that whole like Daboll had held Allen accountable and would rein him in either schematically or verbally and kind of let him know what's good. And Dorsey kind of hasn't done that piece. Oh, we got to stop. We got a super chat. Bob R comes in. Appreciate you being here. Thank you for the super chat. Bob says this is to get the swear jar started. Seems like this convo can go sideways. Yeah, it's definitely possible. So you talk about that offensive piece, and I want to ask you this first question, then follow it up with a second piece. So one, are the offensive struggles you've seen this far, is it as simple as just offensive line is decimated and the body count is awful and there's no Saquon Barkley, or is it more than that? And then follow that up with your thoughts on Daniel Jones in terms of the contract he got and just what you're seeing from him this year and how much of this, I don't know, does he get like a free pass because the offensive line is wild? Like, let's just hone in on that offense because it's really a huge storyline with just everything that's been going on.
The game of football is such a nuanced game, and that's one of the things that I love about it. While people on Twitter and people online will argue, well, it's the line, well, it's the quarterback, well, it's the receivers, well, it's the coaching. It's like odds are if stuff is bad, it's usually a combination of everything. And that's kind of like the beauty of the game. It's so complicated, but also at the same time, it could be so simple. So the offensive line does make the offense inoperable, though. Like 100%. And losing Andrew Thomas, there's a reason why left tackle is the piece of dust in here. There is a reason why left tackle is the second most valuable position in the game of football. I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree with that?
No, I think you still got to. I mean, I know some people want to put up like, oh, well, right tackle and left tackle are even now because your edge rushers can go on both sides. But, quarterback is one, and then it's somebody that's going to protect that quarterback, and that left tackle is that pillar piece.
Yeah. I mean, at least if there's pressure coming from your right side, especially in today's game, like you want a quarterback that can keep the play alive, whether that be in the pocket or out of the pocket. I feel like that is a prerequisite check.
Yes.
You can't just have a quarterback that's a statue that stands in there and can't make a play. I mean,
it's so hard to live that way now. Like you have to be able to have some semblance of mobility or the ability to create off script. And if you don't, that's how you get into, we were talking earlier about like the company that the Giants are in from an offensive standpoint. One of those teams is the Patriots, and part of that, like Mac Jones is a statue and just gives you nothing.
And even like Burrow and Brady, they're not mobile guys, but Brady, the best ever at navigating plays within the pocket and extending plays from within the pocket. And Joe Burrow, with a good calf would normally do that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, this offensive line does make the offense inoperable. Andrew Thomas, the first drive of the season, tears up his hamstring a little bit, blocking a field goal or on a blocked field goal, trying to chase down a Cowboy defender. And that's when everything really started to go downhill from there. So it's a shame. Andrew Thomas was one of the guys that would keep a bad offensive line afloat last year anyway, because at least, hey, Evan Neal's bad, Mark Lewinsky, not great. John Feliciano was not great at times. He kind of ended the season all right. John Feliciano. It's just he looked all right Sunday Night Football against Cowboys.
When he went in there and he performed like pretty well, I was like, it kind of pissed me off, but I was also like, I mean, if you increase the sample size, you throw him out there enough, the cracks are going to show. But kudos to him for, I don't know, just funneling in with that Niners super team on offense and looking sweet.
But left tackle is so important, especially when you have a good left tackle. It's so important, and it can keep an offense afloat, and it kept the passing game afloat at times for the Giants last year. It's kept the passing game afloat at times, even under Jason Garrett. And you would see, like, people talk about the splits of Daniel Jones with and without Saquon Barkley. Well, it's like I actually, the second half of the week, I need to fully dive into splits of Daniel Jones with and without Andrew Thomas. And now we have a nice little sample size, even with Brian Daboll, where there's with Andrew Thomas, without Andrew Thomas, to see what's going on there. So the Giants have like the highest sack rate in franchise history right now. They have one of the highest sack rates like in NFL history. They're on pace to allow one of the highest sheer number of sacks in NFL history. Same thing with pressure. Sam Munson, I'm pretty sure, put something out today saying, with PFF. Basically, Seth Walder made it even a joke today about pass rush win rate. It's like any time that I see that there's a suspicious pass rusher with a suspiciously high pass rush win rate, I need to check to see if they've played the Giants. And odds are they have played the Giants. So that it makes the offense inoperable. But at the same time, you add guys like Jalen Hyatt, speed from Tennessee. You add guys like Darren Waller. You bring back Darius Slayton, he's a nice complemental piece.
Wandale Robinson comes back healthy. Like, he's fun. Like, I like what you get with him from a gadget
Yeah,
perspective.
there should have been an added element of explosivity that the Giants had this year, and there's just not. And Daniel Jones is passing up opportunities down the field. He just is. He's missing throws. He's escaping clean pockets sooner than they need to, maybe because he has the PTSD of the pass rush, but he's passing up things and not what you want your $40 million quarterback to do outside of the second half against the Cardinals, where they had six pass plays of, or no, excuse me, they had 4 pass plays of 20 plus yards. In 18 of the 20 other quarters that the Giants have played this year, they have 6 pass plays of 20 plus yards. So not good.
It's just, yeah, it's wild. And, you know, last year there was that kind of lack of like the weaponry piece, which is why they were going with all these, you know, non-traditional from today's NFL sense, like formations and these heavier personnels, and leaning on Saquon and just driving the run game as much as they could and letting that guide them. And yeah, I love the Waller acquisition. Jalen Hyatt, I know there was questions about the route running piece, but I love, you know, Daboll had a really great quote about him, and it's one of the quotes I love about like player evaluation of what you do. It's like, you know, don't tell me what a guy can't do, like tell me what a guy can do, and then we're going to use him to like do that thing. And like, I think it was whatever his first big touchdown was, I think it was in the preseason or something like that. And it was
camp in the preseason. It was like, there's no way Jalen Hyatt's just going to be able to do what he did at Tennessee, right? And then in camp in the preseason, it was like, yeah, maybe he can. And you know, there still is a lot of work that needs to be done in the route running department.
Yes,
and I think that's why we haven't seen him, because I don't think, number one, Daniel Jones isn't taking those opportunities to throw it down the field, and then number two, the offensive line isn't giving him enough time to throw it down the field. So I think that's why we've seen Jalen Hyatt snaps go down, because he's not a very good route runner. So much of this Giants offense, and here's like a big, like, this is like Bill's path to victory, right? What teams have been able to do, since the Giants can't throw the ball deep, the Giants have been trying to utilize the quick game. And this is since the Eagles started to figure this out last year. Teams are pouncing on the Giants' quick game. They're pouncing on it. And Daniel Jones isn't processing post-snap the things that he needs to process of, if guys are pouncing on the quick game, do I need to go elsewhere? Do I need to try and throw it deep? Do I need to move elsewhere? So that's what teams have been able to do this year, is they're recognizing what the Giants are trying to accomplish in the quick game. They're pouncing on it. They're jumping on it. And they're also not giving Daniel Jones the reads pre-snap to really determine, okay, can I try and push the ball downfield here?
They're really kind of, and you know, you laid it out perfectly. Like, they are forcing Daniel Jones and the Giants passing a game like into this narrow window and narrow focus. And because of the offensive line health and because of the overall structure, they can't get out of it. Like, they're kind of boxed in, and they're forced to live in that box. And you and I were talking offline, and you mentioned it several times about some like the efficiency pieces and the numbers. Like, the Giants passing attack from a total EPA perspective, they're 31st in the league at negative 56.53. The Patriots are the worst at 64.6. So like negative 8 worse. But then the Browns are one spot ahead of the Giants at negative 47.06. So they're like 9 points higher. The Jets offense, which Zach Wilson is a dumpster fire, and what they've done, they're at negative 38.22. So the Giants are almost like 20 EPA points less than they are. Like, this, to your point, like the historical pieces, that's wild. Like negative 56.3, and the gap between, I mean, the Pats are even worse, but the gap between them and the 30th team, and the gap between them and the Jets at 29th is just, it's astronomical. And for a coordinator who, well, you know, I should say like a coach, but who's got that coordinator mentality in Daboll. And then too, like, I love the point you brought up with Kafka. Their relationship seemed to work out so well. Like, Daboll was kind of giving him the reins, and like what Kafka was doing within like the Daboll concept and structure that he wanted, it just seemed like this perfect mesh and marriage of two styles and two offensive minds in seeing what they were able to do together. And just, watching it continue to kind of devolve like week after week. Again, a lot of it has to do with the injuries, some of it Daniel Jones. It's just been wild to see, like, to your point, statistically and from a metric standpoint. And, you know, real quick, talking about Daniel Jones, when he got that big contract from you, are you a yay or a nay? Like, once that deal was announced?
I'm a yay, because like what what other option should the Giants have done? Now, if the organization really did, if Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka and Shea Tierney and all those coaches, if they really believed that I really don't think this quarterback can take the next jump, process the things post-snap that he needs to process to push the ball down the field more and create more explosive plays, because that is what the Giants offense needed to add. They needed to add another element. We started to see towards the latter part of the season when they played the Eagles and their overall second half offensive efficiency did not match the first half offensive efficiency, especially when they didn't play the Colts and when they didn't play the Vikings twice. That's when you saw teams start to figure out the Giants' quick game and what they were trying to accomplish. So why I was excited, because I was like, with the added personnel, with hopefully a better offensive line, with hopefully with a lot of this is hope, and sometimes hope is a bad thing to really bank on in football.
Yeah, hope is not a plan.
And I'm saying this right now, kind of like reflecting. But you draft John Michael Schmitz. You hope that Evan Neal, and I don't think this is an unrealistic expectation. You hope that the 7th overall pick in the draft can get better.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a bad hope.
No, that's
you add Wall. We mentioned all the kind of like some of the additions that the Giants have added, and you mentioned it was well understood around the NFL last year that the Giants didn't have the necessary weapons to really operate this conventional drop back passing offense. And that's what they needed to accomplish this year, is to bring an element of a drop back passing offense that they didn't have last year, to add another variable, to put something else on the plate that defenses have to account for. And they have not done that this year for a wide multitude of reasons that I've already talked about. And also, you've been asking about Saquon Barkley. I do think Barkley was close to playing against Miami. I'm not going to say that he is playing against the Bills, but I'm pretty confident that Barkley will be back. And the Giants were trying to run the ball last week against Miami. They ran the ball a total of 22 times. I didn't love how they ran it a lot on 2nd and long. 9 of those 22 runs came from a 2nd and 7+ distance. They were not very successful. They actually were pretty successful throwing it from 2nd and long. 5 out of 6 opportunities that they really did throw it on 2nd and long. 5 out of those 6 plays were successful. They were considered a successful play. I'm pretty sure 1 or 2 out of those 9 runs were considered successful. So the Giants coaching staff right now, they are, for one of the first times against the Dolphins, I felt like they were coaching afraid of the sack. And it's well, kind of pick your poison. Do you want to take the sack on 2nd and long so you have a 3rd and long, or would you rather just run the ball on 2nd and 10? Maybe you get to a 3rd and 6, a 3rd and 7, and then you take the sack on 3rd down. There doesn't seem to be a great formula, but Saquon Barkley coming back will hopefully make the Giants' run game somewhat respectable, and maybe it will make I say this maybe because I'm not one to fully believe in the threat of a run game makes play action successful, but maybe the threat of Saquon Barkley will make some of the play action stuff that Daboll likes to run a little bit more successful and a little bit more effective.
He's such a key cog for that offense, and he had and I was so happy for him. It sucks with dudes who are so supremely talented and entertaining to watch, and just have them be banged up and hurt over and over again. And Saquon, I loved him at Penn State, and I recognize the notion and the era of football that we are in. I'm fine with a running back going round 1, and if they're elite, whatever, maybe not top 10, top 5, whatever, but Saquon is just so awesome, and it was so sweet to see what he did last year. And yeah, to your point, I was look what they added on the periphery. The offensive line should be better. You got Saquon, and then of course, Saquon gets banged up, but hopefully when he comes back, potentially seeing that turnaround, because like you said, he's so important. He is the straw that stirs the Giants offense drink.
Yeah.
Even though he can't get paid like that because he is a running back, and that's the struggle of that position. Let's flip it to the other side of the ball. Thoughts on the defense so far? Mr. Wink Martindale, who I saw at Mobile when I was on the field on the sidelines, and I was him and Brian Flores were right in front of me having a conversation, and just,
oh, that's interesting.
It was awesome.
With the whole lawsuit thing, that's actually pretty interesting.
Not great. And but Wink was there all in his traditional long sleeve white turtleneck splendor, vest over it, sunglasses, the hat, just looking like an absolute badass. Like I would never want to even look at wrong, like just in all his splendor. And then just, we know what Wink is, like the blitzing, the man coverage, and all these pieces. I loved, like, I was watching Lions tape in the preseason to see some Sam Laporta stuff because I loved Sam Laporta. And they played the Giants, and Wink is busting out all these blitzes in the preseason. Just
teams
doing, like,
hate playing the Giants in the preseason for that exact reason. Like Bill Belichick was like, all right, this long-standing tradition that the Giants and the Patriots play each other in the preseason for like the last 20 years, it's done because of Wink Martindale.
Yeah.
Thanks.
He has no chill. He's just 100 miles an hour, 100. Oh, it's preseason? Cool. I'm bringing blitz after blitz, and he's bringing simulateds. He's bringing 5- and 6-man, 7-man pressures, just who's coming from where. Like, let's talk about that piece. Kayvon Thibodeau comes in last year. You bring in Bobby Okereke, who, it annoys me because I knew him as Okereke for so long, and then he changes it up, and Okereke sounds like Okereke cake, and it drives me nuts, but it's a conversation for another time.
I'm hungry.
Right? And then you draft Banks from Maryland, who was a prospect that a lot of people liked. I actually didn't watch a ton of tape on him, so I've been interested to watch him on tape for the Giants. So let's talk about that defensive side of the ball. Wink Martindale, standouts, players, scheme, whatever you want to talk about, highlight good or bad, when it comes to this Giants defense and where they are at this point in the year.
I'd say right now the best player on the Giants is Dexter Lawrence. Still is. I don't think think he's found his sack yet so far this year. I don't think he's impacting the box score, but man, Dexter Lawrence, I still feel like he's worth every penny. And hey, if this is going to be Dexter Lawrence on somewhat of a down year, I'll take it because the dude's still getting double. Seth Walder put out the double team rate and win rate graphic today, finally for interior defensive linemen, and I was so glad to see Dexter Lawrence somewhat close to the top right quadrant. Not as dominant as he was last year, but I think the NFL is now figuring out, hey, all right, we have a whole year of Dexter Lawrence being one of the more dominant interior defensive linemen on film, and I think the NFL is now properly preparing for that, which it's on the rest of the defense to step up and make those plays, especially if Dexter
he's jumped into that him and Jeffrey Simmons and Quinnen Williams, this next crop of, I guess, Chris Jones, but he's more on the tail end with the Aaron Donald piece. It was Donald and Jones for so long. And then Simmons and Lawrence and Williams are this next crop of dominant interior defensive linemen that can get after you in any which way, shape, and form. And Dexter Lawrence was such a key cog to the success of that Giants defense last year. Everything he did, he is every bit of, I don't care if he gets all pro votes or not. Same thing with Quinnen Williams and Jeffrey Simmons. All those guys are every bit of an all pro interior player because of what they do against the pass and the run. They're just monsters.
Yeah, so that's the player, if I'm the Bills, that's the player that I'm most worried about is just Dexter Lawrence causing havoc from the interior. And whether that be in the run game, I do think teams are doing a good job kind of running away from him and really putting the onus on the Giants linebackers making plays. But even in the pass game, Josh Allen does a great job avoiding sacks, does a great job of improvising. But, I mean, there could be some plays within the pocket and kind of just your regular conventional drop back plays. And the timing of those plays can be disrupted by Dexter Lawrence, absolutely carrying some interior defensive linemen back there. So Dex is still a little bit of a bright spot, but you look at the advanced numbers of this Giants defense, they're down there in EPA per play. I don't feel like their rush defense is third worst, it is in an EPA per play basis, but man, I guess it is because they do allow explosive plays. And that's been one of their biggest bugaboos this year is that they'll get teams sometimes into some second and longs and third and long situations, but teams are able to rip off a 30-yard pass play, a 40-yard pass play, a 10+ yard run play. And then it just flips the script for a team and it makes things easier on, the opposing offense to do what they want offensively. I love James Cook coming out of Georgia. And that was somebody that Bobby and I kind of differed on stemming out of the draft. I was I think, James Cook, highest explosive run rate in college football. That is the stat that is most transferable for college running backs to the NFL. You see Breece Hall, I think, led that class with explosive run rate. And or maybe he was James Cook, but Breece Hall obviously received a lot more carries. So I'm really excited to see. I think James Cook is a lot more fun this year, right, for that Bills offense. So I'm expecting him to have a big game.
Yeah, he's been a real nice addition to the Bills running back room, which for the past several years, Zach Moss is doing his thing with the Colts now, which is awesome to see. But between him and Singletary, and then, Frank Gore was mixed in there, they didn't really have a lot of juice from the running back spot.
Right.
And Cook he's got the ability to change angles, or
he makes it look easy.
He does. Like, he's so fluid. He's so smooth. He's like water. He just goes, he flows wherever the hole is and develops in zone. And then he's done a lot better this year. He added a little more weight. And between that and his ability, like, to break tackles, he's shown better contact balance, but his patience with the run game, like, he is every bit of, developing into a true RB1 for the Bills. He might even already be there. I mean, they rotate with Latavius Murray. Looks like he's a 25-year-old this year, and he's killing it. Damian Harris has been positive as well. I mean, prior coming into the last week, Bills were second in, like, EPA per rush, and it wasn't just because Josh Allen scrambles or QB design runs. Like, their running back run game was a strong piece, and it was one of my favorite pieces from Ken Dorsey schematically with how they were tweaking it each week. I'm really interested to see what this Giants defense does in this game. Like I mentioned in the intro, on the back end of the episode, I'm going to take a look at some tape of some schematic pieces from Bills versus Jags, and it ties into the Giants, side of things. From a blitz standpoint, the Giants defense coming into this past week had a 51% blitz rate, which was the second highest in the league. Mm-hmm. But then when you look at their effectiveness, blitzing, so the Giants with 5, you nailed it. So the Giants with 5 or more rushers, again, they blitzed 51% of the time going into this past week. The Giants with 5 or more rushers, they're 26th in pressure percentage at 37.9. They're 31st in sack percentage at 1.5. Granted, you're watching the games, and I watched some of the tape, and you're not seeing, like, the pressures translate and the sacks translate, but I just did not anticipate with what Wink Martindale is known for and how he can confuse quarterbacks and change the pre to post snap picture, and what he cooks up from a pressure package standpoint, and the chess match that he plays with showing it, bringing it, dropping it, who's coming from where, what we're playing on the back end. I just wasn't expecting to see that level of ineffectiveness from an advanced metric standpoint when it came to the Giants blitz game.
Yeah. Now, like, take the San Francisco 49ers game, for example. Brock Purdy was getting rid of the ball quick, and that was a game where Wink Martindale did not hold back of blitzing. Like, we're just going to blitz the piss out of you, and good luck. And I actually was very proud of the way that the Giants defense held up for the large part against the 49ers. They could not tackle. That is a huge problem that the Giants defense has this year. They are a very bad tackling unit. Especially guys like in the secondary. I think a lot of it stems from the secondary. Xavier McKinney, Deontay Banks, Trey Hawkins when he's out there. Dory Jackson has not looked as comfortable against the run when playing from the secondary. So they miss a lot of tackles. So that's going to be big for, hey, James Cook, if you're forcing tackles, if you can get the ball to some of those tight ends, that maybe can force some tackles. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. But with the high blitz rate, so it's a combination of quarterbacks getting rid of the ball quick, but that's not the whole story. Kayvon Thibodeau, 5th overall pick of the 2022 draft. He's not a down in, down out dominant player. Really, like, he's not like a good player yet. I don't think he's bad. I think there's room for development. I'm not giving up on Kayvon Thibodeau, but the 4 sacks is a little deceiving. I think he has some plays that are good, but then there are a lot of other plays that are left to be desired where, you just want to see more effort. You want to see more consistency. He is consistently not setting a good edge, and he is consistently kind of getting his ass kicked in the run game. I'm a little bit more upset with Kayvon in the run game than I am, rushing the passer. So, and Azeez Ojulari, a guy who plays for a game or a half a game, and he is the guy that I think makes this Giants pass rush. Like, it sets it apart where if you have Kayvon and Azeez on the edge, and then with Leonard Williams and Dex in the interior, I mean, that's a solid front 4. But when Azeez goes out, you have a guy like Jihad Ward coming in who provides nothing in the pass rush department. Azeez Ojulari is hurt again. I don't know if he's going to be playing against the Bills Sunday night, and that really diminishes who can win. Like, Jimmy's and Joe's wise, not just Wink Martindale manufacturing pressure, but Jimmy's and Joe's wise, who is going to win and who is actually going to be getting back there and hitting the quarterback. And also Wink Martindale, I think he's starting to recognize this, and this is even going back to last year. We saw Wink Martindale play 2 high safeties and be a little bit more conservative coverage-wise. Started that trend a little bit last year, And we continued it even this year, where against the Dolphins, even though they ran, like the Dolphins run a lot of heavy formations, which is so crazy. Like, a team that's so fast runs so much out of 21 personnel.
Well, they love using, like, it's similar to, and McDaniel coming from that Shanahan tree. Like, he likes to use Alec Ingold as that chess piece mismatch creation, like what Shanahan likes to do with use check. And then so he'll use Ingold and be like, oh, can I force you into base with 3 linebackers? And I can. Cool. I'll beat you with speed and with Ingold and what we can do. Or if you want to live in nickel, cool, we'll run the ball.
But even with that, personal grouping frequency for the Dolphins, Wink was still playing a lot of too high safety. So he was not letting, which is kind of strange, because if it's a heavy formation, I'm typically thinking that Wink Martindale wants to take advantage of that, put a lot of guys in the box. He was not. So Josh Allen is on a list for quarterbacks. There's a list in the NFL. Do not blitz. Mahomes is on that list. Allen's on that list. Maybe Lamar's on that list. So I would put out Josh Allen on a list of do not blitz. I don't know. Like, I think, you may think that, oh, Wink Martindale is going to be coming for Josh Allen's head. And that may be true. But also, I would not be shocked to see Wink Martindale play back, maybe not with 2 high safeties all the time, but play back in coverage and just try and force this Bills team to beat the Giants by death by 1,000 cuts, which I think has been at times, a controversial topic for Josh Allen. Hey, don't push the ball down the field, get turnovers, take the check down, take what the defense gives you. You may see the Giants defense do a little bit of that this weekend, which is not Wink Martindale's usual identity.
That's what that's one of, like, the things I'm just from a football schematic perspective, I'm very excited to see, because you nailed it. Like, the MO or the plan for defenses against Josh Allen has been like, can we force him to try and take what is given to him? Can we force him to stay efficient and stay on schedule? And then if you do that, and he does, eventually the explosives open up downfield. What's funny is what we saw in the Jags game. The Jags, I mean, the Bills didn't have a lot of success in certain situations that put him into a lot of 3rd and longs, a lot of 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s. And then the Jags, Mike Caldwell and his blitz package coming from, the tree that he comes from, they got into their bag when it came to pressure looks and what they did and how they heated up Josh Allen and creating free rushers. So they had a ton of success with the blitz against Josh, which, to your point, teams do not traditionally have against Josh Allen in the blitz. He crushes it. Yeah. So I'm very interested to see, like, does Wink go into let's make Josh Allen efficient mode? Does he stay in I'm Wink Martindale and I got this badass aesthetic with my?
You're going to find out early. I mean, that's the main. I think it's going to be from the start of the game. That's where we're going to find out what kind of game and what kind of ball game is Wink Martindale calling. Is he going to be trying to call these 95-mile-an-hour fastballs, and he's really going to try and force the issue? Or is he going to try and finesse you and get some off-speed pitches by, to give a baseball playoffs metaphor? There you go.
I love that. I use a ton of baseball metaphors on the show. I love it. So, we'll wrap up that defensive topic with this last question piece, like with, kind of piggybacking on that thought. Like, what do you expect from the Giants defense against the Bills in terms of how they attack, what they'll throw at Allen? Are you expecting a mix? Do you think it'll be more conservative? Do you think Wink throws caution to the wind and attacks? What do you expect to see on Sunday?
I kind of want them to attack. It may not happen because, Josh Allen's he's on a list. He is on the list of do not blitz. But I'm at a point with this Giants defense, man, where I want if they're going to go down, I want them to go out swinging.
Fair.
I want them to go out swinging. And I know you don't want to allow the big play, but the secondary is still somewhat healthy. Xavier McKinney is still healthy. Deonte Banks is still there. I think they really messed. Cordell Flott's a big X factor too. Because he's like the slot corner, came out of LSU last year. He's been starting the last 2 weeks when Trey Hawkins, Old Dominion 6th-round rookie, has been starting on the outside, which has forced Adoree Jackson to be in the slot for the majority of the season so far. But I think the Giants have went away with going with 2 starting rookie outside corners, which is a crazy sentence to say. They went away from that, and now they're putting Cordell Flott in the slot. And they're putting Adoree Jackson back on the outside with Deonte Banks, rookie, on the outside as well. So Cordell Flott and how they're able to play in the secondary, he's going to be a big X factor, because he could either have some good plays or maybe he can go out there. Maybe the Bills can go out there and exploit the lack of experience there. I want the Giants to go down. If they're going to go down, I want them to go down swinging. I want them to be aggressive, try and force these negative plays, because that's going to be the only shot that they're going to have. Getting Josh Allen to 3rd and longs. If number one, I think the Bills can do a good job at avoiding 3rd down. But if you're going to get him into third down, you want him to get him into a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7+, and then that's when Wink Martindale can have fun. That's when he can have fun. When you get him into a 3rd and long, you could put 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage, and even if you drop half of those guys back, it's still a look that an offense needs to pay attention to and they need to plan for. So that's what I want.
Yeah, it's that when you get into those like 3rd and known kind of situations, that's when the Wink Martindales, the Steve Spagnuolos of the world get into their pressure packages and their looks, and they can really just kind of feast on QBs. Yep. I love that point. Let's flip it to the other side. Offensively, what do you expect from the Giants offense in this game against the Bills? Do you think Daniel Jones plays? Do you think it's Tyrod? Regardless, what do you expect from, a schematic perspective and how they'll operate, especially given, with Daboll's homecoming kind of thing?
I don't know if Jones is going to play because we heard the last time that Daniel Jones had a neck injury, it was, okay, he'll be back the next week. And then it was, he didn't come back for the year. So I'm not expecting anything until I see like an actual Thursday, Friday practice report. Thursday's the most important day with practices. Like that's when that's the install day. That's like, hey, let's go. This is our lineup. This is what we're doing. So keep an eye out, like, hey, this is what I'll say. Instead of asking my opinion, keep an eye out for the Giants practice, the Giants injury reports on Thursday and Friday on Jones's overall involvement. The Bills are leading the league in sacks, correct?
Oh, actually, off the top of my head, I'll have to look that up. I know from a pressure standpoint, they've been crushing it like all year. But continue, I'm going to look that up.
I mean, Von Miller just came back, Hall of Fame player. Andrew Thomas is not coming back for the Giants this week. I know that for a fact. Saquon Barkley may be back, but
you were correct. The Bills lead the league in sacks with 21, 3 more ahead of the Baltimore Ravens.
The Bills are leading the league in sacks. The Giants are leading the league in like sacks allowed, and that should get you excited as a Buffalo Bills fan to face this New York Giants team.
Very fair. Very fair. Last point, and then we'll get you out of here. Outline a Giants path to victory in this game. What needs to happen from a nuts and bolts standpoint? And I see you shaking your head already, which is like no faith. Like, wow. So outline it if there is one for you.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be Saquon. If Saquon Barkley plays, it's hey, let's try and get him going on early downs to avoid 3rd and long. If the Giants are getting to a point where they're in 3rd and longs consistently, they will lose the game. And you kind of need to be perfect on the offensive side of the ball because every 4 to 5 plays, the offensive line has helped provide a negative play for the Giants. And that's where Saquon Barkley can kind of come in here. And at least if you have some sort of semblance of a run game, the likelihood of there being a negative play like a sack goes down. I would rather have a -1 or -2 yard run than I guess a -8 yard sack, which I hate. I'm an analytics guy, and I'm talking about like I'm afraid of taking sacks, but this is just where the Giants are right now. Yeah. So Saquon Barkley getting going on early downs, and then hey, maybe you can introduce play action fakes, play action passing, where Daniel Jones is throwing to Darren Waller. Daniel Jones is trying to push the ball downfield. Daniel Jones has looked the most comfortable producing explosive plays when he is running out of play action. At least when you're running out of play action, maybe it gives the defenders at least a half a second where it's something different they have to consider. It gets Daniel Jones away from the pocket, away from a pass rush, at least for a second. And maybe there could be some big plays that are created down the field. So that's the path to victory on offense. And defense, they can't allow big plays on the ground.
You look so stressed.
They can't allow big plays on the ground. Okereke needs to be like aware. Like he's fast and athletic, but he doesn't have like good awareness.
Yeah, and the processing.
And that's frustrating processing. And that's very frustrating from a Wink Martindale and a Giants standpoint. This is like a football thing. People are so obsessed with athleticism when it's like, even if you have a linebacker that's a little slower, but if they process faster, then they actually play faster.
Say it all the time. I do not care how you get a linebacker runs a 4.4. Great. If they can't process accurately and efficiently, they're not playing like a 4.4. You need players that will play fast. And in order to play fast, yes, you need to have some athleticism and physicality, like physical ability and speed and bursts and all that. But play recognition or film study and being able to predetermine what's going to happen, let alone post-snap processing, diagnosing, reading, and reacting accurately, that's how you play fast in the NFL. Yeah. Not because you're thinking. Tremaine Edmonds, Bills linebacker now with the Bears, was the prototypical example of that. When he was playing slow, you could literally like watch a game and you could see him being like, okay, the tight end's doing this, the guard is doing this, up the play is by me. Like you could see him thinking and processing, trying to read what was
Yeah.
going on. And if you're thinking so much, or you can't think, or you can't process, you can't play fast. It doesn't matter how fast you are physically. I love that point.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so that's the we talked about enough. Offensively, it's an offensive game. I think it will be. I have a little bit more confidence in the Giants' defense than the Giants' offense, just because the Giants' offense is now like very historically and franchise like bad right now. So we'll see, man. I'm excited. Always excited. You only get 17 of these a year. Hopefully, you're a Bills fan. You're going to be getting a little bit more in the postseason, but I enjoy every single one. I root for this football team, and football's a great game, man.
Yeah, it really is. And, speaking of great, we alluded to it earlier, with you and, Bobby as well, like your whole crew with Talking Giants and, even what you do with like John Boy football and like that whole, like it's everything you guys have built there. I respect it tremendously. I respect the work that you do and that you put in. So, just in case people don't know who you are, where to find you, plug your socials, your work, anything and everything you want. You were tremendous, as I had hoped and as I knew you would be. The floor is yours. Tell the people whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously if you wanna drink Giants tears on Monday, and if that's the type of person you are, hey, you can listen to the game recap pod, Talking Giants on Monday. We'll have that episode out on YouTube 8 a.m. podcast apps. It'll go out whenever we finish it. We record that night. Similar to these Cover One guys that they do a great job covering everything. And also like JM football. That's the biggest thing. JM football. You probably know John Boy Media. If you do know John Boy Media, for their baseball coverage. But we're really trying to beef up the football coverage, and we're really trying to go all in this year. Chris Rose, I don't know if you ever heard of Chris Rose. Chris Rose and Bobby Skinner have a Football Today show. It's a really great show. If you like digestible 30-minute podcasts that happen twice a week, they do a really good job with that. I do a lot of trivia videos and some more fun stuff. I have some other videos and shorts that go up on that channel as well. So JM Football, that's like the main thing that's like my next big work endeavor that, I'm being told that, hey, tackle it. And we're having a lot of fun doing it. So if you want to check that out, please do.
That's awesome. Yeah. And what's funny? I remember Chris Rose from like MLB Network days and like Intentional Talk with like Kevin Millar. And then when I saw him with like the football piece, I was like, oh, he's just got a great voice and an approach to things. And like, I just like him. And so him and Bobby doing stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. Like you guys getting that off the ground and everything that you're doing. And, again, everybody give Justin and the Talking Giants crew a follow, the John Boy football piece. Like it's really something Justin, I say it every week for like anytime I have a guest that's non-Bills related. I don't care if you're a Bills fan, like or not, like you need to stay up on every other team because every other team is your enemy. You need to know what's up. And when it comes to Giants coverage and analysis of it and breakdowns of it, and just getting into football in general with what you guys are doing, you and the whole crew are definitely worth the follow. And I know it's close to your bedtime, probably past your bedtime. So go get some sleep. I appreciate you staying up late with me and rocking out with me here. I'll see you on the old internet and the Twitter webs. I appreciate the hell out of you. Enjoy your night and Godspeed, man. Thank you for taking the time.
Anthony, thank you. Keep it up, guys. Be well.
Later. Absolutely tremendous guest, Mr. Justin Penik, in a week that, like I mentioned in the intro, just, man, like a lot of sadness for Bills fans and Bills Mafia and the conversation around that. But, you kind of put it and juxtapose it into perspective with what the Giants have going on. And it's a bit of a rough scenario, kind of makes you appreciate what you got from a Bills perspective, despite the fact that, emotions are running high from a negative standpoint and, thoughts and, positivity are down a little bit coming out of that Jags game, not necessarily because of the loss, but because of the injury to Matt Milano, the injury to Daquan Jones, the injury the previous week to Tre'Davious White that kind of put a damper on that victory against Miami. So there's a lot, kind of affecting Bills Mafia and Bills fans right now in this Bills team. But man, the Giants just the Bills pale in comparison to what the Giants have going on right now. But regardless, awesome job from Justin and that whole crew. Appreciate the hell out of him for joining me and taking the time. And he was a tremendous guest. I appreciate a lot of you folks being gracious and kind to him in the chat. And we're going to trudge on in this episode. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to change the banner. I want to talk about a specific aspect of the Bills-Jags game that went a long way in terms of determining the outcome of that Week 5 loss for the Buffalo Bills, especially from obviously that side of the ball, the Jags defense against the Bills offense. But it was an aspect that we really haven't seen have that type of effectiveness against Josh Allen and the Bills offense before. It is the blitz. It's what the Jags did. It's how they did it. We're going to get into some metrics here. We're going to bring up some tape. We're going to tie it into, what the Giants do, which I mentioned a little bit earlier in this episode. But before I do, I always want to, shout out the sponsor. Also want to mention too, obviously coming off of a very disappointing loss against Jacksonville, there's injury concerns, there's offensive concerns, there's defensive concerns. The offense was slow and sluggish. There's questions on that side of the ball for fans. There's questions on the defensive side of the ball from a player standpoint, schematic standpoint, injuries, all that. Some people are just mad about the turf situation and the field situation and the travel schedule, whatever is on your mind. Questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, whatever you got. Feel free to bring it up into the live chat here on the show. One of my favorite pieces about doing these live shows is the engagement with you folks. So as I read the sponsor piece now, and as we start to move forward, even though we're breaking down a specific aspect, questions, thoughts, comments, concerns, ideologies, philosophies, maxims, whatever you got, throw it up into the live chat, and we'll get it cracking as much as I possibly and physically can. Also, if you have not already, please, 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 and thank you, drop a like on this video, whether you're watching live now or watching later. It goes a significantly long way towards helping myself and the entire team here at Cover One to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. So if you haven't already, please drop a like on this video. It is greatly appreciated. Shout out to the sponsor, One Pie Pizza. I mentioned it in the intro, the best pizza in Buffalo, New York. I'm not just saying that because they sponsor the show. They sponsor the show because I think they're the best, and that's why I wanted to partner with them. Delicious sweet sauce pie, cup of char pepperoni, homemade blue cheese. I mentioned every week the initiatives and the drives that they do for the community and the city of Buffalo. And, whether it's partnering with the SPCA or partnering with Roswell and trying to knock out cancer, the Alzheimer's Foundation, they just do so much. They're also starting to get into the breakfast pizza game. They started it this past weekend on the Sunday London game for Bills Jags. You've got just everything they do is delicious, but their take on breakfast pizza, you got a traditional garlic butter base, eggs, sausage, bacon, mozzarella, cheddar cheese, and then had some hash browns to it. And the other one has some mushrooms, some green peppers, some onions, a little spicy marinara. Like, they just get it cracking in all the right ways when it comes to anything and everything pizza related. So go get yourself some One Pie Pizza if you live in the Buffalo area. Online menu, again, can be found in the episode show notes, whether here on YouTube or whichever podcasting app or platform you are listening to this show on. Now, Josh Allen and the Bills offense versus the Blitz. So the whole reason I wanted to dive into this piece is, like I discussed with Justin, I mentioned it kind of in passing, and, we dove into it a little further, but the Giants under Wink Martindale in general, not just because he's with the Giants, who he is philosophically as a coordinator, he is attack-minded. He is known as a blitzer. He's creative in his blitz packages and pressure packages. He's not this guy that's just sending blitzes willy-nilly, but he is attack-minded. He is going to send 5 and 6 and 7-man pressures. He is going to bring guys from non-traditional areas. He wants to put you into a world where you do not know who is coming from where. He is trying to confuse your protection schemes. He's trying to confuse your quarterback. He's trying to change the pre to post snap picture on you. He wants to put your quarterback and offensive line into hell mentally with what he does from an attack-minded standpoint. And again, like I mentioned earlier, going into this past week against the Miami Dolphins, the Giants defense had a 51% blitz rate, which was the second highest in the NFL. For those who, want to know the classification, blitz is defined as having 5 or more rushers. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, if you want to blitz everybody, whatever the hell. So anything with 5 or more rushers is defined as a blitz. Again, the Giants blitz rate going into this past week against the Dolphins in week 5, 51% blitz rate, which was the second highest in the league. Like I mentioned with Justin, despite the fact that they are a heavy blitzing team, they have not been successful in terms of that blitz piece. Like Justin mentioned, some of that is due to the schematics and ineffectiveness of the players up front. Some of it is due to the quick game and teams taking advantage of that blitz piece and getting the ball out before any pressure can be generated. But regardless, when you look at the Giants, efficiency rates and advanced metrics, when they do blitz, when they do bring 5 or more rushers, they're only 26th in pressure percentage at 37.9, so bottom of the league, and they're 31st in sack percentage at 1.5%, which is basically the bottom of the league. So they blitz a ton, but when they blitz, they have not been effective this year. And how does that tie into the conversation with Josh Allen and this Bills offense? Well, I think that is a tremendous question. And, let's dive into that piece. So Josh Allen on the year has been good against the blitz. He's been blitzed on 30.1% of his snaps. He's 38 of 52 for a 73.1 completion percentage. He's passed for 420 yards, 8.1 yards per attempt. He's been pressured 23 times, which isn't crazy. 115.9 QB rating. He's fourth in positive play percentage at 53.3% out of 34 qualifying quarterbacks, ninth in QB rating, and fourth in on-target percentage at 81.6. So when he has been blitzed this year, Josh Allen has been effective, right? I just going through those numbers. When you juxtapose what he has done on the year versus what happened against the Blitz, against the Jacksonville Jaguars in London in week 5, it is a stark difference. Again, so I'm going to read these pieces, but I'm going to go through and compare them with where he is on the year just to kind of put it in perspective for you folks. So Josh Allen versus the Blitz versus the Jaguars. First off, the Jags brought more pressure from a percentage standpoint and usage rate than what Allen has faced on the year. The Jags blitzed Allen on 46.5% of snaps this past week. Again, on the year, Allen has seen a blitz rate of 30.1. So a 16.4 percentage point increase is huge. Allen was 9 of 18, which is a 50% completion percentage. Again, his completion percentage on the year against the blitz, 73.1. He was 9 of 18. Again, he only threw for 67 yards. 3.7 yards per attempt. We're going to talk about how and why that yards per attempt was so low, but 3.7 yards per attempt versus the Blitz against the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week. Again, his yards per attempt on the year versus the Blitz, 8.1. So 8.1 versus 3.7. Huge difference. 23 pressures on the year for Josh Allen versus the Blitz. In the Jags game alone, he got pressured 8 times. Okay. His rating against the Blitz on the year, 115.9, really good rating. His rating against the Jags when they blitzed, 59.3. So 115.9 on the year versus 59.3 in that one game. Wild difference. Also, 28 qualifying QBs this past week in week 5. Josh Allen was 22nd in EPA against the Blitz at negative 5.13. So literally taking points away every time the Jags blitz. He was also 16th in positive play percentage out of those 28 qualifying quarterbacks. Again, on the year versus the blitz, he was 4th in positive play percentage. So a big drop, and the percentage point is big as well. On the year, 4th in positive play percentage at 53.3% against the Jags when he was 16th in the league this past week out of 28 QBs, 35.7%. So 53.3 on the year versus 35.7. Big percentage point drop. And then 20th in rating this past week against the Blitz versus 9th on the year. And then if you look at it on target percentage, this one is very interesting. So his on target percentage on the year is 81.6. His on target percentage against the Jags was 90.9. So he was throwing the ball on target. He was placing it. The problem was, from a schematic perspective, it was playing into the Jacksonville Jaguars' hands. And that is the piece that we're going to take a look at when we dive into, kind of this specific aspect. And again, I want to dive into this piece because the Jags were very effective in terms of what they did with their blitz packages. The Bills didn't help themselves by getting into certain disadvantageous situations for themselves and kind of putting themselves, up against the 8 ball a little bit and playing into the Jaguars' hands. But again, that will tie into an important piece for this week against the Giants because, like I mentioned, going into this past week, the Giants defense, 51% blitz rate. Second highest in the league, but very ineffective when bringing the blitz. 26th in pressure percentage, 31st in sack percentage. So if this is a trend that is starting to develop, it'll be very, very interesting to see, if anything from the Jags game carries over for Bills Giants, because the Giants blitz a ton, but they have been ineffective when blitzing and when doing so. So now, after we go through some metrics now, let us dive into some of the film here. As we do, I'm going to share my screen so we can look at some film. Yay, let us sing and talk about it together. That was a song I just made up. I hope you all are super impressed. So, first play we're going to look at here for the Buffalo Bills against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's go forward here. So, let's take a look what we got. What we have on this play is a 3rd and 7. This is going to be a decently common theme when we look at these plays. I've got 1, 2, 3. We're going to go through 4. 4 of them, plays in general that we're going to look at. 3 of them were on 3rd down and 7 or more. This first one is on 3rd and 7. The last 2 we're going to look at are on 3rd and 10s. So we talked about this last week when we had JP Acosta on the show in terms of breaking down the schematics and the matchup pieces of Bills versus Jags. And he talked about Mike Caldwell coming from that Todd Bowles tree, and that tree loves to blitz you. They love to throw different looks at you. They want to heat you up. They want to confuse you and make you not know where pressure is coming from, and they're going to bring different players in a variety of ways, in a variety of times. They want to get you into these 3rd and predictable situations so they can start getting into their bag when it comes to their blitzes and get into their forte of what they want to do. The Bills played into those hands by getting into these 3rd and longer situations. It's more of a known passing down. You can set these. That's funny from Walter. Walter says, "No way you wrote that beautiful song yourself." Not only, actually, technically, I didn't write it. I just freestyled it off the top of my brain just now. It also helps that I'm, kind of recognized as a songbird of my generation, but that's a conversation for a whole nother time. But I appreciate you, Walter. Thank you very much. The Bills played into this hand for the Jags. Again, we talked about it last week with JP and breaking down this matchup. There was an aspect to this Jags team where they want to live, which is getting into their bag creatively and attack-minded, and their attack-minded nature when it comes to their blitz packages, especially on 3rd downs and passing, known passing down situations, gives them the opportunity to bring pressure from God knows where. It allows their secondary and coverage players to play at the sticks and play top down and keep things in front of them. The Bills really played into the Jags' hands, but again, a lot of this is kudos to the Jags for what they did. And again, it's a huge change versus what Josh Allen has done on the year. I'm not going to go through all the numbers again, but like we broke down right before we pulled up the tape here, Allen has been very good against the blitz on the year versus the Jags, not so much. And there's a stark difference in the numbers. But regardless, we're going to look at this play. Again, 3rd and 7. What you're going to get from the Jags is a 7-man pressure look. They're going to end up dropping 2. They're only going to bring 5. They're going to drop Josh Allen, and they're going to drop Oluokun, number 23. He's lined up to the right of Mitch Morse. If you are Mitch Morse, he's lined up to your left. What we're going to see on this play is the offensive line sliding. Allen, recognizing the hot and going to it and it not working out. We're going to break down why. So let's dive into the tape right here. So we're going to go from the sideline angle first. Again, you see everybody marked up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got a 7-man front. So we've got a pressure look. Allen recognizes it. We're going to show you from the end zone angle some pieces he calls out. On the snap, like I mentioned, we're going to keep an eye out for Mr. Josh Allen and Mr. Oluokun right here. Man, it's going to be annoying to say Josh Allen and then say Josh Allen over and over again, but such is the nature of where we are. Watch on the snap. Oluokun takes a step forward, drops out, immediately, IDs Kincaid, flies underneath him. Josh Allen for the Jags is over here. He drops out underneath, but long story short, he created a free runner situation on the other side. Allen sees it and he IDs it, right? Murray is his hot. Murray is his read here on this play. The running back is hot. So it's not like this is a bad read. It's not like this is a bad decision. The throw isn't ideal, which, we're going to talk about as we go forward. Allen has to get it out quick. The Jags heat him up. They dictate to the Bills offense on this play. They force the short throw. They come up and they tackle. That's also a kudos to Tyson Campbell for coming up and making this tackle. But as we go forward here again, so play in real time, blitz comes. Allen has to get rid of it. It's a bit of a high throw. Murray doesn't really get his feet underneath him. Tyson Campbell comes up, makes a play. Good job for Mr. Tyson Campbell. He's pumped. They're excited. Yay. Now, you see on this one, Josh Allen is pointing with his left hand. He is pointing to Mr. Oluokun, who's lined up in that left side A gap between McGovern and Morse. So he's IDing him, which means we're going to get this slide piece to the left from Mitch Morse. But again, like we mentioned, what is unfortunate here is Oluokun's going to drop. Well, he's not going to drop that way. He's going to drop this way, but he's going to come forward first and then drop this way. And then Josh Allen is going to drop off for the Jags. So you're going to have this slide that goes to the left, but basically ends up becoming very ineffective because 2 of those rushers aren't coming. So we'll go in slow motion here. Watch Mitch Morse at center and on the snap. I'm going to go in fast motion as we go here. Boom, here we go. Morse slides to the left. Cool. Little slide piece. Awesome. 3-on-3, 1v1. Cool. Everything is fantastic. No, It is not, because as we go forward, boom, we see the dropout. So we effectively have 3 versus 1, which is not a good numbers advantage for the offense, which means on the other side, you've got this free runner, and then you've got another free runner coming off screen. But Allen sees it. He reads it. He keys it. He identifies it. Cool. Let me dump down to Latavius Murray. He's done this at different points in the year, and it's worked. And Latavius Murray has been good coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher. My biggest thing with it is twofold. Again, Allen throws it. He lofts it a lot, and it makes Murray, maybe Murray could be more athletic and kind of bring this down better, but it puts Murray in a disadvantageous spot when he brings the ball in. He has to go up, he has to reach, he has to turn around. It stops his momentum. It puts him into a situation where as soon as he turns, he doesn't really have his feet under him, and by the time he tries to plant, Tyson Campbell is on him and he sticks him. Right? Now, I want to go back to the sideline angle because, again, here's where the situation comes in. It is 3rd and 7. Here is your first down marker, right at I'm not going to draw in straight lines, but roughly like the 32-yard line, right? It's up right here. So if you're looking at that first down marker, look at your coverage players, where your safety is, where your corners are, They're sitting there at the sticks. And when you bring a pressure package, you want to force that QB to get the ball out hot, get it out quick. And if somebody makes a play, they make a play, but you're playing into the Jags' hands. They want you to dump this ball down short so they can rally and make the tackle. And again, that's exactly what happens. Watch Tyson Campbell here on the snap. He knows the situation. He knows the blitz that's coming and what is going to end up happening. What's going to end up happening if Allen wants to go hot to his guy. So look how much he doesn't have to really backpedal. Why? Because he's at the sticks. He knows that blitz is coming. He knows Allen is going to have to get the ball out quick, which means maybe it's a quick slant from one of the guys out here. Maybe it's a little bang outside and he's going to jump. He's sitting there watching, waiting for this ball to come out. His eyes are on Josh Allen. So not only is he in position to make a play, even if this ball gets to Murray effectively, Tyson Campbell still has eyes on it and still can come up and make a play, but you add in the lofty nature of this Allen throw, it makes Murray have to turn around, and Campbell comes up again, makes a really good play. He closes down quickly. I'm going to play it in real time just so you can get an appreciation for it. Again, I know it's a Jags highlight, but boom, puts his foot in the ground, comes up, quick trigger, clicks and closes, makes a good play on it. But again, it all starts with the situation, 3rd and 7, known passing down. It allows the Jags to get into this look and bring this pressure, and with a free runner, forcing Josh Allen to take the hot throw. And at that point, the Jags are saying, we want you to take the hot throw. We have confidence in our players to come up and rally and make a tackle and make the play. And that's what happens on this play for the Jags defense. I'll let it run from the sideline angle and then from the end zone angle, and then we shall move on. But again, this is the Jags dictating. This is them saying, we're going to get you to throw the ball quick. We're going to get you to throw the hot, and then we're going to come up and make the tackle. If you beat us, you beat us. But we're going to force that. We're going to force the issue. And the Giants may look to do this as well. Again, this is, like Justin said, maybe they lean more into the too high world and they don't attack like they did against Miami. But Wink Martindale's nature in his blood philosophically is a heavy blitz, I'm coming at you, man coverage type of dude. He will challenge you offensively. And so based on what the Jags did in this piece, it could be interesting to see if he leans into that piece. So that was the first play. Here is another rush situation for the Jags. Not a 3rd down this time. This one is a 2nd and 4. This is a 5-man pressure from the Jags. So with that 5-man pressure, they show it right from the jump, 5 down. What you're going to see is, and again, here we have it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 offensive linemen. So if you know how to do math or you know verbiage, it creates one-on-ones across the board, which is fine, right? But if you have quality players up front, like the Jags do in a variety of fashions against the run and against the pass, you get your offensive linemen put in one-on-one situations. Do you have a talent advantage? Like Justin said, the Jimmies and Joes versus X's and O's thing. Do you have somebody that's just a better pass rusher than their offensive lineman that they're lined up against is from a pass protection standpoint? Do you have that one-on-one that you know this dude can go get me a bucket? Let's play iso ball, create one-on-ones, and my guy can get there. The big piece with this one is, again, 5-man pressure. They show it off the rip. Offensive line gets put in one-on-ones across the board. Allen gets forced off the spot in roughly 2 seconds / a little under, or maybe like 2.1. And I'm going to show you guys that as well when we slow it down, which is crazy fast. Like to get forced off your spot in 2 seconds is not great. It gives you no time. The pressure is going to go through Mitch Morse and through Deion Dawkins. Spencer Brown, you're going to see him on the right side where he is. Trayvon Walker ends up kind of affecting Allen, but it's more because Allen rolls into that based on the pressure from up the gut and from the left. So don't see this rep and think like, man, Spencer Brown sucks. I'm a Spencer Brown detractor, but, he's not really too bad on this rep in this play here. So again, as we go forward, 5 down for the Jags, you will see from the sideline angle, more pressure up the gut, a little pressure from Josh Allen on the side, Jags Josh Allen, and it causes a throwaway on 2nd and 4. But again, nothing crazy. It's 2nd and 4. You throw it away. You live to fight another day. 3rd and 4 comes up. Here we are watching it again, this time from the end zone angle. So here's your 1, here's your 2, here's your 3, here's your 4, here's your 5. You have your edges in wide alignments, gives them the opportunity to attack on that angle or pop and go inside. That's what you get from Josh Allen here on the left side. He threatens that inside shoulder from Deion Dawkins. You get a good rush over Mitch Morse, which I think that is initially the piece that causes Allen to evade. He sees that pressure coming right down Broadway, up the gut and in his face, and he starts to evade right away. So again, here's that one-on-one. Ball is snapped. Okay, not bad initially, right? Especially from Morse. He goes with the punch. He gets his hands, but then he gets beat inside, and this is Allen seeing it. So you got a man coming in here. You've got Josh Allen who's going to win on the inside versus Dawkins. They flush Josh Allen to the right. And again, Spencer Brown isn't in a losing position right now. If this is a regular pocket and Allen isn't forced to flood, and kind of evade out that way, he can sit in this spot or he can step up, and Trayvon Walker doesn't have anywhere to go. Allen, because he's flushed from, right in his face and to his left, he gets pushed into Walker, who ends up, getting the pressure and gets a QB hit, but it's not because he beat Spencer Brown. And I want to call that piece out here. Watching it from the sideline angle, you can kind of get a better perspective. Watch. So there's Spencer Brown, takes an aggressive set. Even right there where Trayvon Walker is, if this is a normal pocket, Allen can step up or he can sit here. He's still okay. But it's the fact that he gets that pressure from here, and it forces him kind of into that Trayvon Walker piece. But again, this is a 5-man rush. This is a blitz. It is the Bills, getting beat up front, something that happened to them a bunch. This time it's not schematic. That first play was schematic. The next couple, I'm going to show you some schematic pieces as well. This one is just 5-on-5. 2 of our 5 got beat, and they got beat in a way that did not allow Allen to create. If Allen gets to stay in the pocket, who knows what he can do. Quentin Morris, regardless, is not going to be open on this play. And what's also annoying, too, is the way the pressure goes is it flushes Allen to the right, where the only person he can throw to is Quentin Morris over here or James Cook over here, instead of, being able to go to the 3 receiver side, which is to the bottom of the screen. But he gets pressure from the front and from the side on that left side, is unable to look there, and we get what we get. I'm going to let it play in fast motion one more time so you can watch. Good job by the Jags right here on this. Oh, that's what I want to do too. Let's go from the end zone angle, and let's time it. So again, here comes the snap. Ball is snapped. If you look in the bottom right, you can see a timer. So 20.22. Let's go in slow-mo. Again, 20.22 is our number. 20.22 is our number. We are not even at 22.22. So we haven't even hit a full 2 seconds, and Allen is already looking to evade. Now it's 22.22, but he's already decided he's got to evade. So in roughly 2 seconds / a little under, that pressure gets through and forces the ball out of Josh Allen's hand. Again, win for the Jags. Good job for them individually, not because of a schematic piece or because of a 3rd down 4 situation. Again, this is on 2nd and 4. Now, let's go to another piece here. This one, like I mentioned earlier, situational piece. This is a 3rd down piece. This is a 3rd and long. The very first play we showed was 3rd and 7. This is 3rd and 10. Again, if you look on the back end, what do we have with our coverage players? And you're even going to see it from the 2nd level as well. We have coverage players that are playing the sticks with the down and distance, They know it's 3rd and 10. They know the pressure is coming. They are banking on the idea and the notion of Allen having to throw it underneath or throwing it quick, throwing it hot, whatever verbiage you want to use. They are banking on Allen going underneath and them being able to rally and tackle either individually or as a defensive group. We're going to get a nice twist at the bottom of the screen from Trayvon Walker. That's going to help get Allen off his spot and make him uncomfortable, heat him up a little bit, and flush him to the single wide receiver side. Top side of the screen, again, similar to the play we just showed, there are more receivers to that top side, thus, in theory, giving you a potential better option. Gabe Davis comes open eventually in the middle. Kincaid flashes underneath as an outlet or a piece to hit, but it doesn't matter because the pressure comes from that top side and from the middle. And Allen is flushed to his right, so he never really gets the chance to see it. But again, this is the Jags dictating to the Bills. It is them knowing the down and distance, the situation, forcing the hand, making you have to roll to a certain side and or get the ball out quickly if you can, or the pressure beats you, creates a free runner, whatever have you. There's just a multitude of wins that can potentially exist for the Jags in this scenario. And again, it's frustrating looking back on it. JP Acosta, who I had on the show last week, broke it down tremendously. This is where the Jags want to be. They want to put you in these 3rd down situations, 3rd and known passing downs, even if it's not 3rd and long. They want you in 3rd and known passing so they can get into their bag from a pressure package standpoint. Not only do they have 3rd and known passing here, it's also 3rd and long. So as we move forward, Allen brings Sherfield in motion. Again, look at the secondary players. They're playing the sticks. They know what's up. They know where that 1st down marker is. This is a night. You even got Aluakon is trying to play games. Am I blitzing? Am I not? No. On the snap, this is nice. Trayvon Walker right here takes that loop. This is what forces Allen off the spot initially, right? So you get Trayvon Walker, you get Cisco coming, get the blitz from this side too. So you get all these pieces that affect Josh Allen in some form or fashion. Again, let's watch it. Starts with that Trayvon Walker piece, the little twist inside. Boom. You get a free runner coming from the top. Again, I think it's Trayvon Walker. We're going to look at the end zone angle. I think it's Trayvon Walker that flushes Allen off that spot. There's no way he's seeing the pressure coming free off the left. But again, what have you done? You have forced Allen single receiver side. He doesn't have anything. And Tyson Campbell is down there and Aluakon is down there. Reading Allen, flowing to the football. There's nowhere for Josh Allen to go. And again, you see where that 1st down marker is. Right there at that 49-yard line, right in front of the 50. Look where the coverage players are, right? Even Campbell showing up a little bit as we go. Here's Tyson Campbell, but then as the snap starts to happen, he starts creeping back because he recognizes the scenario. He obviously knows the call and knows that Cisco's going to blitz, so he knows what his responsibility is. He drops, playing the situation. Soft, playing the situation. Soft, playing the situation. I didn't mean to draw those exact shapes. It's just how it happened. Playing the situation. Attacking the protection of the Bills and attacking the situation. Again, your thought here, the fact that they get a free runner is like icing on the cake, really, and the potential opportunity to sack. But they're just playing for the pressure there. They're playing for the idea that Josh Allen's going to throw this hot or get it out quickly and underneath, and they're going to rally and make the tackle. They've all got eyes on Josh Allen, and they're playing top down. They're playing from the sticks, from where the 1st down is. They're playing there, and they're going to try and keep everything in front of them, and they're going to bank on the pressure, heating up Josh Allen, forcing him to throw it. And then because they're keeping everything in front of them and they're not really backpedaling, they're not drifting too much past the sticks, they can just put their foot in the ground, trigger, quick close, and make a play on the ball carrier, like we saw in the very first play against Latavius Murray. Here is this end zone angle. Cisco's going to come. You're going to see Trayvon Walker on a nice stunt. You're going to get the nice spike inside to occupy Torrance and Spencer Brown, which clears the way for Trayvon Walker to loop inside. And then again, we're going to get pressure off this side that we're not seeing right now. Again, that alignment piece, that's not even here from this side angle. Like right now, if you're Josh Allen potentially looking at this pre-snap, like he could have him in man, he could have him in zone. He's not necessarily declared. He's not part of it, but he times it really well and changes that picture post-snap. Again, let's watch it from the end zone angle. Here we go. Slide to the left, which also helps a little bit from the stump perspective. So you get that slide, which creates an even bigger gap here in that A gap, which allows that effective spike to create an even bigger runway for Trayvon Walker to come through. So again, a lot of this is, tipping your cap to the Jags for, you want to punish the Bills, if you're a fan of the Bills, for allowing themselves to get put into this situation and allowing themselves to be put into a situation that is advantageous to defenses in general, but especially given the nature of the Jags defense with how effective they are with their pressure packages and what they like to do in these situations. So definitely not great for how the Bills got put into this situation, but you have to credit the Jags for forcing the Bills in that situation and then getting them here and dictating to them and being this effective. Again, Walker puts his foot in the ground. He's going to loop through. Runway. Allen sees it coming right down the pike. He knows that Torrance doesn't have the angle, so he's got to evade. Even if he doesn't evade, if Torrance ends up making the play, that's awesome. He's going to get clocked from the free runner on the left side. Gets flushed to his right. No options. Got to throw this ball away. There was nothing. Again, play it one more time. Fast motion, regular speed, I should say. Kudos to the Jags. And so I see your comment there when you're saying when they play the sticks, hit them deep. You need the time in the pocket to be able to hit them deep. Josh Allen does not have the ability to, sit there and hit them deep. He's getting flushed. He's getting rushed right away. He doesn't have the opportunity to sit and let the routes develop because the protection isn't holding up. This is a good job by the Jags. Again, dictating. And I see, RJ, I see your question too. Is Morse just bad at protection calls? I never remember so many free rushers with Eric Wood. No, Mitch Morse is tremendous. This, again, is a tip your cap to the Jags. Like the Jags executed. And again, that's going to happen. I think if you focus solely on a one, just like your team. And I'm not saying you do, but I'm just kind of speaking in generalities. Like, I think sometimes it gets lost in the sauce is like the opponent you're playing is like sometimes really good at football. Sometimes they have really good individual players. Sometimes they're a good football team. Like they're also professionals and they get paid. So sometimes it's not like when your team or your player gets beat, sometimes it's not like, well, this my player sucks or my team sucks. Sometimes it's just like they're really good. They just got beat. And it happens. That's what happens when you're playing other professionals who are also good at football. So again, I don't think Mitch Morse is bad at protection calls. I don't think he's bad as a pass protector. I think there are certain skill sets and body types that give him problems up front. But this is just a tip your cap moment to the Jags for what they did here. Again, kudos to them for this design. They disguise it well. They're not showing it. Allen waits for his man to come in motion. And again, it's the twist. The twist gets him off the spot. The twist from Trayvon Walker gets him off the spot. But if this protection holds up in here and Allen is sitting, waiting for his routes to develop, he's going to get absolutely crushed from that left side there if he sits in the pocket. This is a well-designed play. Again, as we look here, right, we'll watch Gabe Davis coming in here into the middle of the field. I should have continued that. And then we'll watch Dalton Kincaid release to the flats. Those are the two options realistically that are open. Here comes Gabe Davis. Boom. Davis kind of clears. Could sit in that spot, or Allen could fire it to him and hit him when he comes out of the break. Or if he's still sitting there, he can hit it to Kincaid, see what Kincaid can do after the catch. The only thing tough with that is, again, if he gets it to Kincaid here, these guys are clued in on Allen and clued in on Allen. And this is, again, a lot of space for Kincaid, but also a large distance to cover to potentially get that first down. So again, just kudos to the Jags overall for a good scheme, good design, and just really being able to attack that piece. I like it. Ooh, question from MB. I like that. Did they figure out our protection schemes? I don't necessarily, no one ever completely figures out someone's protection scheme, like overall in terms of like knowing what a team is going to do or like who they're going to be, but you can play a team's rules against them. And some of it isn't necessarily like I'll pull up the question here. Some of it isn't necessarily like they figured out the Bills specifically. Some of it is just, if we show this look, odds are an offensive line will respond in this way. And if they respond in this way, we're going to do this other thing. And we're going to show them A because we think when we show them A, they're going to do B, which is awesome because we're showing them A and we're not doing A. We're going to do C, and we know C beats B. And that's the kind of like world that I think the Jags got the Bills into from this perspective. But again, this one isn't necessarily figuring out their protection schemes or rules. This is just a good design, good disguise, and bringing a good. We've broken down a ton on this show, I've praised Sean McDermott for his pressure packages, his simulateds, his creepers, his 5 and 6 man pressures. This is similar to what the Bills have done. The next play I'm going to show is very similar to what the Bills have done from a situational creation perspective. This is, things we've applauded the Bills for. It's just good defensive football. This is good defensive football. This is good. Again, not good if you're a Bills, but good play. Again, we'll show it from the end zone angle just because I like it. Again, I just like good football. This is good football. Playing that piece. Take advantage of their guys up front, sending the house, attacking. Again, playing the situation. I think the biggest thing for me on this play, it's really the down and distance. When you're in when you have a team in 3rd and long, you can afford to play in this situation. If it's 3rd and 3, it's a lot harder for you to bring this look. Even 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, right? Because if you allow that underneath completion, there's a higher probability or success rate of them potentially getting the first down because there's less down and distance to go. But when you have that 3rd and long situation, again, like I showed from a coverage standpoint, you can really play those sticks and just sit and be like, okay, cool. We're going to blitz and just keep everything in front of us. Like that's what they want to do. Like they are banking on somebody getting the ball short so they can just rally and tackle. That's it. So good job from the Jags on this play. I'm going to go to this next one here. Common theme, again, like we continue to talk about. What is it? It is 3rd and long. So the very first one, again, 4 plays. This is the 4th one we're showing. First one was 3rd and 7. Second one was an outlier. It was a 2nd and 4. But then the previous play we just showed was 3rd and 10. This one, again, is a 3rd and 10. So continuing to go through this trend of the Jags getting the Bills into 3rd and longs. And then because the Bills are in 3rd and longs, the Jags can get into their bag from a pressure package standpoint and play into their hand and put the Bills in a disadvantageous position. So again, Jags are going to show a 6-man pressure on this play. We're going to go forward here a little bit. Okay, here's your 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 over here in a very wide alignment, but 6-man pressure. Clear everybody so everybody can see those pieces. So we got a 6-man pressure from the Jags. Now, if you look at the alignment, what's going to happen? So you have Latavius Murray to the left. He can either function in a pass protection role or he will be the hot player if someone comes off that free edge or comes off that spot. Which is what you have here. So because Murray is to the left, you are going to get an offensive line slide to the right, mainly from a Mitch Morse perspective, but even McGovern too. So you're going to get that slide to the right. Deion Dawkins gets put in a bind on this play. And again, I'm going to tie this into plays that we've shown here on this show when it comes to what the Bills have done from a pressure package on defense. We've shown it in the film room with myself and Eric Turner. It's a really great idea and design. We're going to show what happens here. And this play also ties into the first play that we showed here where Josh Allen dumped it down to Latavius Murray as the hot. But we'll go in slow motion here. Here comes, boom. Mitch Morse slides to the right. Chad Muma drops out. Deion Dawkins gets put in a bind. Who do I pick? He picks inside because, again, he's in a lose-lose situation, but you're always going to pick that guy inside because that's the most direct and closest path to the quarterback. So again, running back to this side, if the pressure fully comes like it does, Latavius Murray is hot. Allen pumps it to him, doesn't go to him. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he's trying to make a big play. Maybe he's annoyed at this point because it's in the 3rd quarter, 8 minutes and 10 seconds left, recognizing what the score of the game is and how the Bills offense has been. Maybe Allen wants to, and again, I'm not faulting Allen. I'm just surmising maybe what's in his head. Maybe he wants to get a bigger chunk. Maybe he wants to create an explosive play. Maybe he thinks he can run out of it like he's done. We've seen him pump free runners and make a play with his legs or use it to create and make a throw off script. Or maybe he remembers that it wasn't successful the last time. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he pumps to Murray, who is the hot. If he completes it to Murray, there's a chance he can get this first down. Again, this is like a lot of space. And I know you're sitting there thinking, wow, that's a ton of green grass. But you do have Muma with eyes. You got eyes here. You've got eyes here. And the first down marker, again, this is a 3rd and 10. The first down marker is here at the 32-yard line. So not a gimme by any means. Though Murray has been effective with the ball in his hands. Maybe he breaks a tackle or maybe he gets it into 4th and 4, 4th and 3, some kind of situation, and then you go for it on 4th down instead of what we ended up getting here. But regardless, Allen pumps it, steps up, avoids Josh Allen. tries to make a play to Dawson Knox. And from the end zone angle, you'll see he actually has enough of a decent window, but just can't fit it in there. And then Knox can't make the catch. We'll go from the end zone angle. Also on this play, I think this is the one that Connor McGovern gets called for a hold. You're going to see it here when Allen starts to scramble. But again, nonetheless, so here's Murray in the backfield. He's to the left, which means Mitch Morse is going to look to the right, but we get more of like almost a full slide here. We get a 4-man slide here, so it's a slide to the right. But again, because of the pressure they bring, now the situation you've got is a 2-on-1 here versus Deion Dawkins. Again, that is part of like the design. So Latavius Murray is hot. He's not staying in to protect. So Allen knows, and again, if we're looking at it from a sideline note here, Allen knows if this rush comes and somebody's coming free, he knows Murray is his outlet. He knows Murray is his hot, just like he was on the first play we show here where he dumped it down to him, threw it a little high, Murray stumbled, Tyson Campbell came up and made the tackle. So he knows Murray is his hot, but doesn't go to him. And again, this is the Jags dictating to the Bills saying, we know we can get a free runner here. If we get one, we want you to dump this ball down. They want him to go to Latavius Murray. They want him to check that ball down so they can rally and tackle. He doesn't. Pumps. Avoids Josh Allen. Yeah, it's the hold there from Connor McGovern. And again, this is the end zone angle. You see Knox going across. Again, Allen kind of has an opportunity to make this throw if you look at it, right? Like Dawson Knox is like decently open. Just throws it a little too high. Again, it's not going to matter because I think there was a holding penalty called on Connor McGovern on this play, so it doesn't really matter. But again, from a standpoint of it being 3rd and long, dictating to the Bills, something I didn't highlight on this play that I have on the others. Again, it is 3rd and long. Look at the back end, the coverage shell. Look at what we got. Even our slot, our apex defender up here. Look at where they are in relation to the sticks. Again, the first down marker is, as you can see right here on the screen, it is at the 32-yard line. So if we're sitting here pre-snap, sitting at the 33, sitting at the 31, sitting at the 35, sitting at the 28 and a half, 29 almost. Again, what are they doing? They're playing top down. They know the situation. They know it's 3rd and long. They know they're bringing pressure. They are anticipating and almost baiting Josh Allen to throw that ball hot, to throw that ball short. And again, like I mentioned, Murray's is hot like it was on the first play that I showed. Tyson Campbell came up and made the throw. If Allen goes to Murray there, again, like I said, eyes. He's going to get his head turned around. You're going to have 4 players breaking on the ball relatively quickly. And you might not even need all 4 because, again, even if Murray gets this ball, he's still got a long ways to go towards getting that first down piece. This is the Jags dictating to the Bills offense because of down and distance, because of their attack-minded nature and what they can do creatively with their pressure packages. This is a nice design. Again, this is the tip your cap piece to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Good design, good attack, good piece. Allen still almost makes a good throw. Again, not trying to find like a silver lining in or anything like that, but like Allen almost makes a good throw here. Show it one more time there from that angle. Boom. Oh, also with protection calls from earlier too, like that to answer that follow-up question, like sometimes like Allen will also diagnose and like ID like, hey, you know, so-and-so is the mic, which is what also sets the protection. So it's not just like Mitch Morse is out there being the only one to call protections. Man, this was almost a really good throw. And not an easy throw. On the run, the window, all those pieces. So that's a piece. Again, I think it's an aspect that is going to loom large in this game because of, like I mentioned, the success the Jags recently had. And, you know, if that starts to continue, do we start to see teams blitz the Bills more? Do they start to find success? Because teams traditionally have not had success against the Bills when blitzing, especially this year, like I mentioned in the numbers earlier. If you're just joining in, didn't see that piece, you know, finish watching the episode now and then rewind and go see what's up. But again, the Giants are a heavy blitzing team, 51% blitz rate coming into this past week, second highest in the league. But again, as I'm going to continue to talk about, ineffective blitzing, 26th in pressure percentage when blitzing at 37.9% and 31st in sack percentage at 1.5%. So they're not really heating up the quarterback. They're also not translating any of those pressures to sacks. They're not getting any sacks when they do bring pressure. So if they have success this week, maybe that's a potential, kind of crack in the Buffalo Bills armor from an offensive standpoint. And maybe it's a trend that starts to develop going further. That's why I wanted to highlight this piece. Normally we do stock up and stock down. On the back end of these, in season episodes of Disguise Coverage, but I really wanted to focus and hone in on this one point because I do think it is very important schematically, just in terms of the go forward for this week against the Giants. And again, ironically, the Jags kind of living in a similar world creatively from a pressure package standpoint on third downs, the success they had against the Bills with their pressure package this past week, and how we could potentially see a similar game plan from the Giants if they can get the Bills into third and known passing situations or third and long. And then Wink Martindale can really start to get creative and start to bring in a lot of different pieces from his defense, start to attack Josh Allen potentially. But nonetheless, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Disguise Coverage. I want to thank everybody who rode with me live on this episode. Before anybody goes, please, and thank you if you haven't already, drop a like on this video. I know it's corny to ask for them. I mentioned it earlier. I hate shilling out for it, and I know it's corny to ask for it. I know it's corny to say it's corny, yada, yada, all that kind of stuff. But if you have not already, please, and thank you, drop a like on this video. It goes a sincerely long way towards helping myself and the entire team to track and trend in front of more eyes and ears. If you enjoyed this content, please drop that like. If you are listening on one of the podcasting apps or platforms, that is cool. Please rate and review and subscribe to Disguise Coverage. So please subscribe to Disguise Coverage here on the YouTube channel, and then subscribe to Cover One as a whole. We have you covered every single night when it comes to anything and everything Buffalo Bills. And I mean every single night and day as well, all 7 days of the week, Sunday through Saturday. Thank you to everyone who rode with me live here on this episode in the chat. I know it's a bit of a down week. I appreciate the kind words coming in from Bill's Witch and then from RJ. Appreciate you folks. Glad you enjoyed the episode. But yeah, as RJ says in the comment there, awesome and painful show tonight. And expected viewership to be down, engagement to be down. I'm even down. It's not just the loss. Like the losses happen. It is what it is. It's more just the state. Like Daquan Jones was absolutely killing it, and seeing him go down, and Matt Milano was having another all-pro season and he goes down, and that's on top of Trey going down the week before, and just the unfortunate things that have happened to this team, which is a really good football team. You never want to see injuries kind of cut the legs out from someone. I'm not saying this season is over. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I understand the emotions and the sadness and the frustration coming into this week. So I really appreciate everyone who joined me live here on this episode. I know, it's not exactly the type of week to want to consume content and really get talking about the Bills again, because everybody's kind of down in the dumps a little bit. But I appreciate everyone who rode with me live here on this episode. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Thank you very much to Justin Penik, who joined me in the front half of this episode to go inside Bills versus Giants in a multitude of ways. He was awesome. And as advertised, go check out him and Bobby Skinner and Talking Giants and John Boy Football and all that kind of stuff. They do great work. Very much appreciated him stopping by and joining me in tonight's episode. Thank you to everyone who watched, listened, viewed this episode on YouTube, podcasting apps or platforms, whatever have you. Post live. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you very much to Bob R earlier for the super chat. If you enjoyed this show, please, tell your family and friends and loved ones about how awesome this show is. If you thought the show was terrible and you hate it, tell your enemies and try and ruin their day with it. Appreciate support in any way, shape, or form that it comes. Word of mouth, likes, retweets, shares, anything and everything. I will be diving into more Bills tape and posting a lot of it on Twitter going forward. So if you want to give me a follow on Twitter at @pro__ant, I'll drop the banner. That's pro__ANT. Also be diving into some Giants pieces, posting more advanced metrics and a lot of breakdown and matchup pieces on the old Twitter as we go forward. So that'll be happening the rest of this week as well. Awesome comment here. When is the next film room? And the next film room is tomorrow night with me and Eric Turner. We will be live Wednesday, October 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern for another episode of the film room, diving into several hot button topics and pieces. There's a reason I didn't go into certain things from a film or structure perspective in this episode, because, we're saving that for the film room tomorrow to kind of bring that holistic piece together and wrapping up this abomination of a game in London. So join myself and Eric live Wednesday, October 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern. If you're watching this after October 10th live when Disguise Coverage was, that's cool. Go check out the film room. Type in Cover One Film Room. It'll come up right away. Go to that channel, go to that piece, and check that out. I appreciate you folks more than you will possibly know. I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are all doing well and staying safe. Be kind to one another. Take care of one another. Godspeed. I will see you all next Tuesday live live 9 p.m. Eastern for another episode of Disguise Coverage. If you're going to the game this weekend, be safe, be responsible. Hopefully the traffic isn't too bad getting in or getting out. And Godspeed. And as always, go Bills.